The very first thing that I'm sure all your teachers are saying, hey, did you pick up my stuff? Okay. If you did not pick up the stuff for AP Chem, you should have picked up a periodic table that looks much sadder and blanker. Oh, that'll be nice. Don't worry, that'll only happen like 4 times. You should have had a periodic table from the stack on the table in front of the office. You should have a unit pack for unit 1, and a unit pack for unit 2. I don't have cover sheets like we did last year for regular chem, but hopefully everything you need should be in there. And we will start eventually with unit pack 1 today. We'll go through the first sheet. It's just a one-sided sheet, and it'll be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Your syllabus, I did not post or give that to you guys last week. And the reason why I didn't give that to you is because we weren't quite fully sure of some of the policies that the building was going to have us roll out. So the policy sheet is posted online. I'll go through it today as a part of this presentation. And it's nothing really too crazy. The things that are different from my class compared to other classes, I'll obviously point out. But yeah, that'll kind of be the day. So I'd like to talk a little bit about myself so you kind of have a sense of who I am, and we'll start there, I guess. I'm Mr. Brosnan, obviously, but a couple of my hobbies, a couple of things that I am into and do on my personal time or during, when I'm not at school. I've got 2 kids at home. So I have a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And they are a handful, to say the least, but I have a hunch that's not just my children, that's all children at that age range. But they keep me very, very busy when I'm not teaching or at school. I am a huge sports fan. So any sort of sport, I am pretty much following it and watching it. Regardless of what you're watching or into for sports, I'm probably following it and can have a good conversation about anything sports related, including how the Bucks are, not doing so hot right now. But maybe they'll win this afternoon. We'll see. I am also a big board gamer, which is an interesting hobby. And when I say board gamer, typically people assume that means Monopoly and bad games like such. But I am into more strategy, crazy big board games. So I own probably over 50 board games at home, and I will avidly play board games with my buddies when I have free time. I am a big video gamer too. So I am the esports coach here at Wausau West, which, yes, that is a thing. If you weren't aware that was a thing. We do have an esports team at Wausau West. Currently, we only compete in League of Legends and Rocket League, but I am the esports coach. I also did coach Rocket League over at NTC last year. So I'm not only an esports coach here at Wausau West, but I'm also an esports coach over at NTC. So I'm very much involved in the video game world as well as the board game world. And those are kind of my hobbies. So I don't know if you care, but whatever. I figured I'd give you a little something to kind of maybe have a conversation with me about in the future. And again, I hope we can, get some one-on-one time or talk in little groups and get to know each other a little bit, or better yet, maybe one of these days in the near future, we'll be back here and hopefully in a safe and distanced manner. But nonetheless, it'd be nice to be back to normal, as I'm sure you've already decided by 1 o'clock this afternoon. But all right, so let me get into it. Just a couple of things that I want to point out, and we'll do this on a different day in terms of getting set up on the one website that I need you guys to get set up on. It's Learning, obviously, is where you're going to find everything for this class. I hope you're obviously here, so far so good on that. I'll try to have my plans updated. I'm not going to put a ton in the plans, but I certainly will put links and documents for what we're working on that day in the plans. And if there's a video associated with that, I'll have that hot linked right on that front page. So you shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't have trouble finding what you need to find on a daily basis, whether it's a live class or a non-live class or whatever you want to call the yellow sections that you guys have. So tomorrow, for example, I'll post a video early in the morning and you'll be good to go, and you guys can accomplish that, watch that whenever it works for you. So anyway, so you should be able to find what you need. Certainly if I forget something or if something's not there that you feel like should be there, don't be shy, shoot me an email or pop into my office hours and let me know, and that'll work just fine. And you guys can, and I'll get things posted if I ever forget, which there's like a 90% chance that I'm sure there'll be something I forget on any given day. So I'll try my best, but I'm human. Let's see. Attendance. So I'm supposed to take attendance during this session. I think we're good to go. I have an auto attendance taker kind of working in the background here, and I think it's working. So we shouldn't have to worry about that. As long as you show up, I should be able to mark you present. And if I ever mark you absent, please don't take it personally. I just missed you, or my attendance taker missed you or something. Just shoot me an email, right? And I can obviously double check and go back and see if you were here or not. So please, obviously, I'll try my best to do that accurately. My office hours, if you go to our It's Learning page for my class, I have my office hours in an announcement on the home page. So if you go past the planner up top, keep on scrolling, there will be an announcement with my office hours. I'm never going to make any more announcements through It's Learning. So in other words, my plan is to have those office hours in that announcement underneath the plans the whole year. So it's always just there. I have a good amount of office hours. I'll just be chilling in a Google Meet, or just have it on in the background, obviously. If for whatever reason you need some help or you need to pop into the office hours, just be aware that, I might be away from my computer or I might be in a conversation with somebody else, but the instant I notice that you're there, I'll try to unmute myself and help you out with what you need. So note sheets. All right. So in your first unit pack, which looks like this, and yes, I don't use fancy colors, and yes, I don't have many pictures, and this feels more like a college situation, but spoiler alert, this is sort of kind of a college class. So these aren't the most exciting to look at, but my hope is that they are covering absolutely everything you could possibly want to know on the topic of the day. So I am using a numbering system. Up in the top right-hand corner of all of our note sheets, there will be a 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, whatever that case may be. And with that, these numbers are pulled directly from AP. So this isn't even my organization. AP Chem, there's a big old massive 200-page document outlining what this class is supposed to be and outlining, the topics I'm supposed to cover for you guys online. I would not recommend reading that 200-page document. I mean, it's exciting, but it's not that exciting. But anyway, so these topics are outlined 100% by AP. I am following their kind of structure. Yep. All right. Keep total. Let me know how many times that happens. But anyway, so you can actually go online, find these little, if you search AP Chemistry 1.1, you're going to find information on this topic. And better than that, AP is doing their own videos. So AP, if you're in any other AP classes, you may have heard this already, but AP for every single course that's offered under their umbrella is posting teaching videos for every topic. So if you're sick and tired of listening to me, you are more than welcome to use what they have too, to kind of either supplement the topic or what we're learning about that day or whatever the case may be. So just a side note, they have a full YouTube channel and they're going to fill that thing up with similar videos that I'm making as well. So, so with that said, all of these note sheets, this is very different than last year with regular chemistry. In regular chem, if we didn't finish a note sheet, we often had you guys take that and finish it as homework and bring it back the next day and we'd correct it and that sort of thing. With AP Chem, wherever we stop on a note sheet, I'll pick it up at that exact spot the next day. So I've generally tried to keep the note sheets, to one day in length, but that's not perfect because sometimes I just go slower or sometimes I go faster. It just kind of depends upon the day. But with these note sheets, whatever we don't finish, we just pick it up at that exact spot tomorrow. So these are never homework. Anything with this 1.1, 1.2 at the top right, never homework. If we don't finish it, we'll start there again tomorrow. The way at the back of this, I do have some homework. Okay, so way in the back, or towards the back, I should say, of Unit Pack 1, in the top right-hand corner, you will see HW, which of course stands for homework, Unit 1, Topic 1. All right, so eventually you will get assigned paper homework for this class. And the way we're going to submit that is I'll just have you guys take a picture of that, either with a cell phone, or if you don't have a cell phone, or if your cell phone camera is, not so hot, there's a way to do it on a Chromebook too, bringing up your camera on the Chromebook and snapping a picture that way. And then I'll have you essentially just submit your homework as a picture file or as a JPEG on It's Learning. So side note, don't worry about this just yet, though I haven't taught you anything, so there's no need for homework just yet. But the other thing I want to say about note sheets is these are for you, okay? What I mean by that is is as I'm teaching through a video or through live like we are today, you can write all over this thing. If I say something that resonates, or if I say something that's like, huh, that sounded kind of important, write it down in the margin. You can highlight these, you can mark these up, underline, do whatever you need to do to kind of solidify what I'm talking about on that day. Don't feel like you're forced to take notes only with what I'm writing on the board. This is your resource for you to use. So however you want to take notes or however you want to write on this thing is totally fine. It's totally up to you. Having said that, when we come to test time or when we come to the end of a unit, you want to look at these things, which I smile about and I laugh about, because every year I teach this class and I do these nice note sheets and we learn about all sorts of things. And then I ask kids how they studied and they never say that they've gone back and read through the note sheets, which to me makes very little sense. So please understand that when I give you these note sheets and we go through them, they're good to look at prior to a test, for example. That would be a great choice. But anyway, I'll shut up about that for right now. Labs. Hey, see that big old chunk of class on Friday? If you noticed, you probably noticed there's a nice 6 mod block for class on Friday. Yeah, that's our lab section, which of course is not quite exactly a thing right now. My tentative plan for Fridays is to give you guys some AP questions and work through the AP website. So not today, I'll do this tomorrow as a part of the video because it'll just be easier to have it pre-recorded. But tomorrow I'd like to get you all signed up for the AP website if you have not done so already. And they have a massive question bank of all sorts of things that I'd like you guys to work on Fridays. And I mean, I'll be very specific about what you need to do, obviously, and give you guidelines on what I'd like you to accomplish. But our Fridays are not going to be lab-based in the near future. My plan is to potentially record some things and give you some data from time to time regarding labs, but obviously we're not here. And the 2-hour lab block is sort of just dead for a while until we're able to resume maybe normal school. But so there'll be stuff on Fridays. My plan is to not necessarily plow forward or teach more on Fridays, but give you sort of a recap of the week through some AP questions, or give you sort of a pre-recorded lab experience with me, you know, maybe running through some of the labs and providing you guys some data. It's a really important part of this class, but it's just unfortunate that we can't obviously utilize it at the moment. So more information to come on that, I guess. Let's see. That's it for now. All right, so I'm gonna go into present mode. I'm gonna run through my initial kind of intro. This is gonna cover the syllabus, which I'm gonna gloss over pretty darn quickly. And then we're gonna jump into the first note sheet, which you will have an opportunity to do some problems. So if you have your unit pack, the very front page of that is 1.1. We are gonna go through that. We are gonna finish that today. Don't freak out too much. It won't take a ton of time. But you probably want a pencil, and you probably want a calculator too. We're gonna do some factor label math today, which, you know, it's been a hot minute on that. So if you don't have that stuff, you can run away from the screen for a little bit. That's perfectly fine, but go grab your unit pack, please. Please have a pencil, please have a calculator, and eventually here we're gonna try some problems and yeah, jump in. So I'm gonna go into present mode. I will be running through this presentation. Let's see if this works. And you're more than welcome, obviously, to, you know, pin the presentation. So, oh, for crying out loud. There we go. So with the Google Meet, you can pin individual screens, obviously, if you haven't quite figured out. So feel free to pin the presentation unless you wanted to see some faces on the side. That's fine too. But yeah. All right. So hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And again, I would love to get to meet you guys in person, and I hope someday in the future that's a thing. But anyway, welcome. So this is my syllabus, okay? And this is posted on It's Learning. If you go to the resources tab of It's Learning, it's the very first thing you can find under the resources. It should say course expectations or something like that, 2020, 2021. But anyway, let me go real quick. All right, so this is AP Chem. The idea here is that this is essentially equivalent to your first year of college chemistry if you were to go off to college and take chemistry there. The whole plan or the whole idea behind these AP classes is that you're taking a test in May to potentially receive college credit for this class. I'll have a ton more to talk about that obviously in the future, but if you're here, the idea that behind these courses is that you're probably taking that test and you're trying to get college credit to save yourself some money and save yourself some time in the future when you get to college. Materials, red pen, pencils, binder, all of my stuff, and obviously it's with the supply pickup the last week. Everything's 3-hole punched. Everything I give you all year long will be 3-hole punched. So please feel free to use a binder as your organizing tool. It's probably the best way to do it. And everything's got that nice little sequential number in the top left, so you can't really screw up. You know, the order of things is it's always going to have that little heading on it, so you can keep it organized. You absolutely need a calculator. When I say scientific, I don't mean graphing. Much like regular chem, you just need, even if you have a TI-30 or yeah, the TI-30s, that works. That works. Closed-toed shoes and hair ties for labs, again, until further notice, that's not a thing. And a lab notebook, until further notice, that's not a thing. So don't worry about those two. My grading scale, it is different than what you're used to. My grading scale, A goes all the way down to an 85%, B goes all the way down to a 75, 65, 55, so on and so forth for the other grades. That's really important to know, and kids always like that, and they get excited about that. But that, of course, means that what I'm teaching you is tough. I hope that makes sense, right? The whole reason why this is shifted the way it is because if I didn't shift my grade book, there would be a lot of A students not getting A's. And that's just not a battle that's worth fighting, so to speak, at a high school level, because that ties to scholarships and money for you guys. And I'm not here to smash hopes and dreams. So needless to say, I have shifted the grading scale appropriately so that if you're an A student, you're probably going to get an A. And if you're a B student, you're probably going to get a B, and so on and so forth. So don't lose too much sleep over that. Yes, it's shifted, and yes, that sounds really nice, but all that's really implying is that what I'm teaching you is pretty darn tough, and it's been shifted to kind of account for the fact that if you're an A student, you're still probably going to get an A if you kind of maintain your normal study habits. So exams will be given at the end of each unit. I'll talk more about that when we get to that point. Obviously, it'll be a digital exam for the foreseeable future. I'll talk about the retake policy in the future later as well. It talks about it in that paragraph, but I'm just going to keep on trucking. If you want to see it again, this is on It's Learning. You can bring the syllabus or the course expectations up on there and read through it yourself, but I'll deal with it when we get there, so to speak. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of plowing forward. If you do have a question at all, as I'm yammering away here, you can type it in the chat. I have the chat up on my Chromebook, so I should be able to kind of see if somebody's got something to ask or if they want me to clarify something a little more. Or certainly you can unmute yourself and ask a question too. Either which way is perfectly fine, whatever you feel comfortable with. But as I'm talking, if you have a question, please type it in the chat or unmute yourself and just stop me, because I kind of just keep plowing forward. And if you got a question, that should be asked probably. So. Homework, you'll have normal homework for this class. It'll be split in 2 spots. So we'll have homework, paper homework, kind of like I showed from Unipack 1 earlier, and I'll talk more about that tomorrow in the video. But we're also going to have homework online through AP Classroom. So this is a little annoying only because you're very used to It's Learning. And for every other class, you're probably going to go to It's Learning and submit a lot of assignments and homework that way. But with an AP class, there's this secondary website, right? The AP Classroom website, which we'll get you signed up for tomorrow, hopefully. The reason why I want to use it and have homework assignments on there is because these are actual AP questions, which is really, really important. I can write my own questions, and they're probably pretty good. And you can go online and search from a non-AP website and probably find some chem questions, and they're probably pretty good. But if you really want to truly be prepared for the AP test, authentic legitimate AP questions need to be looked at. They need to be practiced on a regular basis. So we're going to use AP Classroom to kind of accomplish that. And I'll be giving you some credit for those questions that I ask you on there. They will generally be multiple choice. They do have some open response or free response questions on there, but it's tough to do that, obviously, especially if you're doing some math. It's tough to submit a digital, factor label problem. So I'll most often keep them to multiple choice. Let's see. Do your homework. All right, that's a good strategy. The late score, the late policy here, if it gets turned in late, you can get 60% on it. This is the exact same as last year, actually, for regular chem. And if it's not turned in by the end of the quarter, essentially it's a 0. So nothing new in terms of late policy with homework. Labs are going to be a part of your grade eventually, in theory, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Overall grade, 60% is exams, 20% is homework, 20% is labs. For right now, 60% is exams, 40% is homework, which is a lot. But we will be grading the homework based off of like what your actual work is. So we're not rounding up with homework like you did in regular chem. And in theory, hold on. Sorry, the lights went out. In theory, if we do get back to real school, we will make 20% of your grade be a lab score, which will involve lab reports in the form of a lab notebook, which will save that for another day. Attendance, hey, you should totally be here. All right, good talk. Expectations, this is a pretty fast-paced class, which makes sense. It's supposed to be equivalent to college. So expect the content to kind of come pretty fast. That doesn't mean that I'm certainly gonna leave everyone in the dust. If there's a day where it just does not go very well, and I'm getting email after email, or if I keep having kids pop into the office hours and they are thoroughly confused, I'll take my foot off the gas and we'll revisit some stuff and make sure that it makes sense. But do understand that this is AP, this is college equivalent, so you can expect it to be a pretty torrid pace. Good news, the first unit is more or less a lot of review. So don't be too scared here for this first month. It should be not too bad because we're starting with moles and factor label, which is probably in a lot of your wheelhouses, because if you enjoyed that stuff last year and it was going well for you, that's probably why you're here this year. So don't get too scared about the pace just yet. It'll make it's a bigger issue when we start getting to some new stuff that you've never seen before, which will happen in Unit 2. But the other thing that I have on here is in this paragraph is some of your greatest learning will come from talking and working with other students on this stuff. I can't strongly stress that enough. I am here to help. I will absolutely help every chance I get. If you need something or if something doesn't make sense, I'm your teacher, right? That's literally what I get paid for, is to help you. So I will help you. Having said that, if you guys are working together and working with one another, sometimes you guys can phrase things in a way that actually clicks or makes more sense to another student or one of your peers. So I can't strongly stress this enough. If you have a friend in this class, a couple of friends in this class, please work together. That doesn't mean copy, of course. I'll give you the old teacher shtick of, don't copy, but that's logical, obvious stuff. But please work together. It's extremely useful for you guys to do so. The national chemistry exam is on Friday, May 7th, next year. That's a problem for future you, not present you. Contact information, receiving a 0. This is just like, hey, don't cheat or you'll be in trouble. And then contact, please just email me, right? That's going to be by far the easiest. I'll try to respond to emails day or night, but with my little ones at home, it's not always possible, but I'll try my best. And yeah, if you ever need anything, just shoot me a quick email and I should be able to get back to you in the near future. All right. Are we okay? How are we doing? Are you sleeping? No? Are we good? Any questions? Anyone have anything non-chemistry related that they would like to share? This is the weirdest thing ever. I feel like I'm teaching to ghosts. Like I kind of see you on the computer, but it's just, Weird. Nothing at all. I'm giving you an opportunity to sidetrack class so we don't have to do chemistry. All right. If I do that in the future, I have a hunch that you'll take me up on that later. Topic 1, moles and molar mass. Every single day with your note sheets, I will give you an objective. This is the objective from AP. So the goal today is to calculate quantities of a substance or its relative number of particles using dimensional analysis, which is a fancier way of saying factor label, and the mole concept. So today, factor label problems, moles, same stuff you learned last year. So I'll go pretty quick. All right, in chem, we often need to compare quantities of atoms, molecules, ions, or other extremely small particles. If we're talking about the big world, the macroscopic world, it's very easy to count things. If I've got 5 apples, I can very clearly count 5 apples. But in chemistry, that's pretty darn tough because we're looking at things that are extremely tiny, okay? So with that comes this. Now, you may have already noticed that this is 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. Last year, it was 6.02 with 3 sig figs for that value. This year, it is 4 sig figs. More often than not, you can use the 3 sig fig version and you'll be just fine and everything will work out and there won't be an issue, okay? But side note, if you have your periodic table that I gave you last week or that you picked up last week, the first page is a periodic table. The next 2 pages, if you open this thing up, is a bunch of formulas and constants and equations, okay? In here, this number, this Avogadro's number is what it's called, and named after a dead white guy, is 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, okay? Not a big deal. Please don't, if you use the 6.02, the 3 sig fig version, it'll be just fine, okay? But anyway, this is the number of atoms, the number of molecules, the number of anythings in a mole. So if you remember from last year, a mole is just a number. That's all it is. It's a really big number, okay? So we use the analogy of you have a dozen eggs or a dozen muffins or whatever, right? Dozen is just a number. It means 12. A mole is just a number. It means 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. So please don't ever forget that. It's kind of abstract, and I think calling it mole makes it more abstract, but it is just a number. That's all it is. It's just a really, really big number. So to go along with the concept of a mole is something called molar mass. This is the value that you find on your periodic table, right? It's the decimal value inside these little element boxes on your periodic table. So molar mass is, of course, the mass of 1 mole of stuff. And if you have your camera on, my light just went off again for fun. Anyway, so there's a little formula in your packet for molar mass, and it looks like this, what I have on the screen right now. N is the number of moles, and if you take the mass of something divided by the molar mass of that stuff, you get moles. It's in your packet, which is why I pointed it out. But really, we've always just used factor label to kind of convert between moles and mass and that kind of stuff. So don't worry about this formula too much. I only add it here because I want to point it out to you in your note sheet. So it's been, probably a good minimum 3 months since you've stared at chemistry. Try this. You got a spot on your note sheet for problem number 1. I'll give you, a minute or so. Use your periodic table and see if you can calculate how many moles 6.44 grams of carbon contain. Go for it. I'll give you a little bit. So keep working. If you're not quite done, keep trying. But I'm going to slowly but surely kind of show this, and I'll use the factor label method of showing what I need to show. I'm going to be at the smartboard, so if I get quieter, I'll try to yell louder, I guess. But anyway, so if I have 6.44 grams of carbon, that's what I'm going to start with, right? And by the way, my handwriting is lovely. So if you can't read it, that is your problem. No, I'm completely kidding. My handwriting sucks, okay? I like to think of myself as proof that you can have poor handwriting and still make it in the world. So I apologize. If you can't read what I'm writing, please just yell at me in the chat or unmute yourself and be like, Brosnan, I literally have no idea what the heck that says. And I'll stop and then I'll try to rewrite it. And it'll look the same, but maybe I'll verbalize what it actually says and then you can read it. So yes, I apologize. It's not great, but that's how I write. Anyway, so I have this many grams of carbon. If I want to convert from grams to moles, I set up a factor. And I put the label that I currently have on the bottom of the next factor. So I'll have grams of carbon. And on top, I'm going to have moles of carbon. And then in that factor, I put the molar mass. If you look at your periodic table, the molar mass of carbon is 12.01. So I have 12.01 grams, 1 mole, and that's it. That's all I wanted to do in this one. I just wanted to go from grams to moles, and now I just plug it in. So if I punch that into my calculator, I'm getting 0.536 moles of carbon. Okay, about as easy as factor label math could ever possibly get. I hope that makes sense. I hope you can follow along with what I'm up to there. Yeah, let's try another one. Go to number 2, give it a shot. However, actually, let me stop you for a little bit. You'll notice potentially, if you have your new periodic table, this one from AP and not last year's, look at the molar mass of hydrogen, if you could. Last year, the molar mass of hydrogen was 1.00. But that's actually not the true molar mass of hydrogen. So this is oftentimes where the class would, not be thrilled and start yelling at me. But there's a reason why we only make it 1.00 in regular chemistry. The reason is it makes life way the heck easier, okay? In reality, since you're now in AP chemistry, the actual molar mass of hydrogen is 1.008. It's a 4 sig fig molar mass. So I say that because you're asked to figure out the total molecules of water in this problem. Water, of course, is H2O, which contains 2 hydrogens, which instead of being 1.00, the molar mass of those has to be 1.008. So just be aware of that, please, as you try this. I'll give you a minute or so. Give this one a shot. If you already are, great, but try it. Whoa. Did you guys get to hear all those dings? Exciting. Sorry, it was not calibrated very well. All right. So there is the setup. I start with what I'm given. I have to go from grams to moles and then from moles to molecules, okay? That first factor is molar mass. So the molar mass of water using the new value of hydrogen from this year, and again, I know that probably makes you mad, and I'm sorry. There'll be a couple other instances this year where I'll change a thing or two that you learned from last year. So please, don't get too mad. You can preemptively get mad if you'd like, or I mean, whatever. But it's going to happen. So I'm sorry. But as you go further and further into chem, you learn more and more, and we start fixing things along the way. But the molar mass here should be 18.016. Now, you might not like that either, because I'm adding the molar mass of oxygen and the molar mass of hydrogen. And in theory, I should go to the hundredths place based off of sig fig rules, which you may or may not remember. Long story short, for any molar mass, I don't want you to round for sig figs off of your periodic table. That sounds very strange for a chemistry teacher to tell you, especially after the way that you were probably, so diligent about them last year. I'll come back to that, and I'll come back to why I don't want you to round molar masses. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. Again, it's a new year. There'll be a couple tweaks in how we do things based off of the way AP wants it compared to what we taught you last year. So bear with me. All right, so this is for 1 mole of water. And then to get to molecules of water, I need to convert moles to molecules, which is using Avogadro's number, or that really, really big mole number, right? The 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. So for every 1 mole of water that I have, I will have 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. There's my setup. I punch it in. And by the way, if you're still watching my screen and not just the presentation, I literally have a calculator next to me every day. I don't calculate any of this stuff ahead of time. That sounds weird as a teacher, but I wrote all these problems. I know all these problems, and I like to do them all with you guys at that time. That's just kind of my style. I like keeping my brain fresh, so to speak. So I like to just punch them in as we go. And if I make a mistake, please yell at me and stop me, because it'll happen. But side note, that's kind of how I teach. All right, I'm getting 5.78 times 10 to the 23rd. Any disputes? We're good to go? All right, sweet. Number 3, if a pure sample of sulfur contains 4.92 times 10 to the 22nd atoms, how many grams of sulfur do you have? Essentially the exact same as the last one, just completely reversed, okay? Give it a shot, and if you're done with that one, go on to the number 4. That's perfectly fine. I'll kind of throw both of these up here in the very near future, and then that'll be the day. We'll call it a day after number 4. If you are all done with number 3, I think this is correct. I hope this is correct. Disputes? Good to go? All right. And by the way, if you are looking at my camera and I'm staring off to the side, it's because your faces are over there and my camera is over here. So don't mind me. But yeah, so old school factory label stuff, right? This is all review. This is all last year's stuff. It's been a while, so I'm assuming you're having to knock off a little bit of the dust, but I hope it is kind of clicking and ringing a bell. The whole Mole Island flowchart thingy dingy from last year too, right? I'm not giving you that, but if you liked it and you still want to kind of at least start the year using it, you're more than welcome to bust out the old unit packs and use it. That's cool. Just be aware that it's obviously not going to be there on test day. So you kind of need to get confident and comfortable with this without the unit pack cover. But side note, any of the resources from last year, if you want to use them, do it. Absolutely do it. Just be aware that on test day, you don't get last year's resources, right? So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Number 4, based on the following chemical reaction, how many grams of carbon dioxide are produced if 15.4 grams of methane, CH4, are combusted? I'm making you balance this first, which is fun. It's been that's good stuff. So please balance this first, because if you don't balance it, we can't possibly solve the problem. And then you'll need to convert from grams of CH4 into grams of CO2. This, if you remember, is called stoichiometry. This is where we take factor label math and we use it to solve for something about a balanced chemical reaction. So that big weird word stoichiometry, that's what this is. That's what this is. It's using a balanced chemical equation with factor label math to solve for information about a product or a reactant from a different piece of information. That's what stoichiometry means. So please try this. I'll shut up, give you a minute or two, and I'll start chipping away at it on my board. And then we're all done. We'll call it a day, and I'll post a video for you guys tomorrow. So. So again, please be aware of the molar mass of hydrogen. Methane has 4 of them, and it's not just 4 anymore. It's 4 hydrogens. Each hydrogen is 1.008. So if you screwed that up, again, I'm sorry. It's different this year. That's annoying. I know that's annoying. But we do have a different molar mass for hydrogen. So please take that into account. For the molar mass of methane, I am getting 16.042. Again, with addition sig fig rules, that's not the way we taught you last year. But with molar masses, take every last digit that the periodic table gives you, please. The next factor is that mole-mole ratio. From your balanced chemical equation, we need to convert from moles of one thing to moles of another thing. And that's a ratio. So it comes from our coefficients of that balanced equation. I have 1 mole of methane and I produce 1 mole of CO2. So mathematically speaking, that did a whole lot of nothing, but we need it there. And then last but not least, we have carbon dioxide. So if I add up the 2 oxygens and the 1 carbon, I'm getting 44.01 for that molar mass. And I punch all this in. I'm producing that many grams of CO2. Any questions? Good to go? Awesome. Thanks, Isaac. I've been looking at your camera. You keep giving me thumbs up. I appreciate that. That's all I got for you guys. I know that was long and probably miserable. I'll try to be more entertaining in the future. I'll have a video for you guys tomorrow. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Pop into my office hours. I believe I have office hours from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if at 9 a.m. you're free and you want to jump in for a quick question or anything at all, or just want to chat, that's cool too. Because again, I'd like to get to know you guys as best we can through this virtual stuff. But until later, have a great day. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. You're free to leave, or I'll just start booting you.